This year I've decided to do Inktober, and I'm using it to play with some different patterns. I've set myself some constraints, so I'm working with a 20 by 20 centimetre square of paper. I'm using fine liner pens for most of the drawing, and then I've got a little pot of gold paint that I'm using to add some highlights. I've got a pencil, a ruler, a pair of compasses, and an eraser to allow myself to create as many construction lines as I like. And most of the Inktober drawings that I'm doing are starting with a circle. But for this one I wanted to use a Celtic knot, so I'm creating a grid. I did draw a circle on the paper, but I didn't really end up using it. I created quite a tight grid for my Celtic knot, and kind of quite randomly set out where I wanted some corners and some division lines to be. If you want to know how to construct a Celtic knot like this one, then have a look at my previous video where I show you the basics of using a grid to create Celtic knots. Once I've created the framework, it's time to get my fine liner pen out and start adding some ink. I try to go slowly to create some smooth lines and curves, but I do wobble on occasion. A lot of work for this is done in the construction, so once those pencil lines are in, inking it isn't too hard. You've just got to follow the lines and try not to go the wrong way. Once I finish doing the outline, I think it needs something a little extra, so I pick out some strands to add a double line around. That sort of fills in some of the knot and gives it a little bit more body and presence. And then I've got the fun bit of adding some gold. All of the strands that I haven't yet completed, I add a stripe of gold down the centre. At first I start using a brush that I think will be really good, a nice flat brush to give me a good solid stroke, but it's a little bit too big, so I switch to a tiny little pointy brush. It does take a little bit longer, but I think the results are worth it. And so that's my completed Celtic knot. For more fine liner projects in this series, check out my Instagram where I'm sharing a photo a day of my Inktober project.